हाँ जी,
नमस्ते। हम प्रोग्राम स्टार्ट करने जा रहे हैं. We will have this doctor discussion on cardiac health in South Asian context, and our doctors today are Dr. Anil Gotwal, Dr. Randeep Saneja, and Dr. Murli. They are, very. So please, there's not a big crowd. So, and you had a chance to talk to most of them. So I'll kick off with Dr. Anil.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Namaskar, and welcome to this health fair. आज का जो हमारा टॉपिक है वो है हार्ट डिजीज इंडियन साउथ एशियन पॉपुलेशन में. Okay, so हम physicians, we always focus on how we can promote health, how we can maintain a good health, and in people who are already healthy, how we can make them better than what they are. And especially if they have disease, then definitely take care of it. But as the saying goes, the best doctor is one who helps in preventing the disease. And definitely when there's a disease, we have to take care of it also. Personally, myself, मैं अभी recently Arizona से move किया हूँ. Used to be a cardiologist and vascular specialist there, और अभी recently यहाँ पे मैंने move किया है. The most important reason why we actually care for heart disease is that the whole world is suffering, and it's the most common reason why people die. Even during the COVID time, it was the #1 reason of death in the world. Now, speaking of the world, the worst sufferers are the people who live in South Asia, and which includes India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan, etc. So together, we may be like 25% of the world's population, but we carry more than 60% of the world's heart disease, which is a very staggering statistics. And a lot of it is mainly because of multiple reasons, which I will go through. As compared to the American population, an Indian origin person, it does not mean Indian living in India, but Indian living anywhere, is 3 to 4 times more prone for dying because of a heart attack or a stroke or any related illness जो vessels के कारण होती है. And similarly, as compared to Japanese, even though Japanese people do not have a very lifestyle, which is a lot of hypertension and type A personality, but still they have much less heart disease than Indian people. So the main features that Indian heart disease contain is that #1, it is very common. It starts very early, young age. In general, it is said, it's a big myth that, oh, when I grow old, I will start having collections of cholesterol deposits in my heart arteries and all. But usually this collection starts even as young as like in the first decade of life. So the stage is set when we are very, very young. And it's a mixture of what our genes we carry, what environment we live in, what we eat, and what is our lifestyle. But essentially, if a person of Indian origin gets a heart disease, the same heart disease will kill more Indians commonly than the rest of the world. So mortality rate is high. It comes much early in age, and the numbers are increasing and increasing. And even though there are regional variations within the state, as compared to the rest of the world, this is a little late data, but current data is almost 50% of the heart disease in India occurs before the age of 50 years. So young. So, and this number is changing very, very, very fast. So that becomes a very disturbing scenario. India is becoming the heart disease capital of the world, mainly because of the numbers as well as the percentage of the people affected. So, and this has been studied in Indian scenario, that even the heart arteries and the heart have a different behavior and different style as compared to the rest of the world. So we have smaller heart arteries and we have more diffuse disease. So it's not one blockage. We can have blockage at different levels, and we can even have beaded heart arteries, like a bead. There's more disease in the distal part of the heart. And Dr. Suneja, I also worked with Dr. Kaul. I got it. So, okay. So what is the bottom line? Like, why Indian population tends to get more heart disease? So it's basically a combination of genetic factors, and there are multiple genes implicated in this, the risk factors that we carry, and in general, we have more risk factors than the traditional risk factors. What most people have, obesity, diabetes, we have even more than that. A lot of these risk factors we don't even look for. We don't even address them. We don't even think about it, but they exist in our environment and then our lifestyle. So it's a combination of things. So as it is said, the genes, they loaded the gun and the lifestyle pulls the trigger. And that's what happens when the heart attack happens. We're already walking with a loaded gun. We just have to improve our lifestyle, and that's all we can do, because this is how our population is. And coming to the genetic factors, there are a lot of them. I will not go into the detail, but definitely it exists more in the South Asian population. Conventionally, your risk factors, they can be divided into two types. One, those we can modify, and two, that we cannot modify. And three, which I personally say is the one we actually don't think about. So what can we modify? We can modify smoking, diabetes, heart disease, unhealthy behavior of lack of physical activity, or obesity, high cholesterol. But then age, genetics, our race, everything else we cannot modify. Incidentally, the two of the most common killers of the world, the heart disease and cancer, both of them carry the same risk factors. So there's not much difference. So if you are working hard on your lifestyle, you're also preventing yourself not only from the heart disease, but a multitude of other problems. This is something congested slide, but this is the most important part of the slide or the whole presentation, is that there are factors that we don't think about. And we always think, okay, diabetes is the problem, but problems happen much before diabetes. So something that we call metabolic syndrome, a little of waistline, little increase in the triglycerides, and low good cholesterol, the HDL cholesterol, which is in the low. That combination is called metabolic syndrome, and it has multiple other ways to identify it. It's not just the blood parameters. Indirectly, apart from having a lifestyle of physical inactivity and apple type obesity, or just the mid waistline little more than normal, there can be some skin signs, which include skin tags in the neck or in the armpit. There can be some hyperpigmentation. So all of them, they do the same thing. Then there are some chronic conditions, which include arthritis of different type, vasculitis, chronic infections. They also contribute to the same problem. When we check the cholesterol, we do not check all the functional parameters. And I will come to that in future. Some of the blood cholesterol parameters include, which are very high in South Asians, is lipoprotein little a, ApoB, and the ratio, the low HDL, and these are all important factors that we carry more than the other people. In fact, studies from India, it is seen that at the time of heart attack, most people actually have a normal looking cholesterol panel, which simply means the cholesterol panel that we look at, we are missing. We are missing big time in exactly what we need to look for, and especially in a high-risk population like ours. And that is why doing some advanced panel of work, like what Dr. Suneja does, is calcium scoring comes into play. It's a big aid into picking up the hidden disease. Now, when the people had this heart attack in the big study that was inter-heart study, it was done all over the world. More than 30,000 people participated. One of the commonest risk factor they found in South Asian population was this advanced lipid problem. And of course, our big problem is what we eat or what we do not eat, plus the lack of exercise. In general, Indian population does not indulge much in alcohol, but they don't do exercise as a regular routine either. So when we break it down by the state, you can see that some of the states, they are glaringly, it's more common. However, the risk factor, when we look at it, is also common in those states. So it all boils down to what are our risk factors. So amongst the risk factors, as I said, what do we don't look? We don't look for the dietary risk of what we do, which simply includes the high amount of trans fats, high amount of simple carbohydrates, and high amount of monounsaturated fat or sugary stuff that we can call in our diet, which is an inherent part of Indian diet. So whether it is the jalebi or the laddu or the gulab jamun or all of that whole list, it is so much of a part of our diet. And the second thing that we are kind of missing in many countries, including India, is the suspended particles in air. So air pollution, like in Delhi, like in Bombay. So it is so high that it is also implicating a chronic inflammatory condition, which is increasing the heart disease, especially in these areas. And so part of this is a very common diagram that we always try to see how evolution has happened over a period of time and how fast this evolution has happened. And if you actually look at it, how we are evolving from the 4 feet to the 2 feet took many years, but then from the 2 feet to obesity, we took very little because of the drastic changes that happened so fast over a period of year. From being a pure vegetarian, we turned into carnivore, and then subsequently from carnivore, we are going into a bad food habits. So India is actually in the more problem because we are taking all the bad habits of the West. Today, like this year in November, when I went to India, I was very surprised that the McDonald's had such a long line in India. I cannot believe it. And the same people who are standing in line for McDonald's for 1 hour, after they go home, they're going to eat a full meal also. So that type of a behavior is getting very, very common. And especially here and almost everywhere, it's not only that we are changing, we are also changing our food that we eat. So I'm sure, I mean, I could have made a picture of 2020 also here, but how big it would be, the food that we consume is also abnormal. And everything adds to how we create this type of a problem. So I'm very fortunate that I have a renowned colleague and friend, Dr. Juneda here, who has been here multiple times before also. And we have a very learned Ayurvedic physician also. So all of us will be coming and giving the talk one by one. So Dr. Suneja, this is your turn next. The ECGs are being happening in the room, in the library, and
Namaste ji. Thank you so much, Anil ji, for a great talk to get us all started, and glad to be back here for our annual RSMAJ Health Fair. Most of you may know me, or those of you don't know, I've been in Houston area practicing cardiology. This is my 31 years, and the private practice completing 30 years this year. So, my office is based out of Katy, and I proudly say that I was the first physician in Houston to have a website, houstoncardiology.com, in 1993 when I started the practice. So anyway, so I, as a practicing cardiologist and an advocate for preventive healthcare, I have been at the forefront of preventive cardiology in spite of being an interventional cardiologist. So My talk today will be calcium score evaluation of preclinical heart disease. My presentation has many slides, but I'll utilize just a few slides here. All right, so that's just a picture of our clinic. I have two partners also, Dr. Pai and Dr. Desikan, and we have a wonderful staff, about 30 people. And I have some of my staff is here doing the EKG, so truly appreciate their help. All right, so Anilji talked about the risk factors for coronary heart disease, especially in the Southeast Asian population. And as he touched, coronary heart disease remains the #1 killer, both in the US and all over the world. And as there are multiple risk factors, as we talked about, the modifiable, non-modifiable. However, to a great extent, we can actually diagnose coronary heart disease by a lot of modalities, and there are tremendous technological advances that have happened. And one of them that I'm going to talk about is the calcium score. In addition to obtaining a complete blood profile, including your cholesterol, advanced lipids, Lp(a) is one of the newest particles that has come up, and although we're doing clinical research on Lp(a) with some of the pharmaceutical companies. So everybody needs to have at least one Lp(a) checked because that's a genetic component in factors of coronary heart disease. But obviously checking your A1C and advanced lipids. One of the diagnostic testing that also is critically important and easily available and totally non-invasive is called calcium score. So I began doing calcium score in the year 2000. The calcium score originally was started by Dr. Agustin in the year 1990. And even to this day, it's unfortunately is not covered by insurance, but it's a very simple technology, simple non-invasive test, literally a 3-minute test, which gives us tremendous amount of information and leads to some further diagnostic testing and identifying coronary heart disease. So what is coronary calcium score calcification? So essentially, the coronary artery calcium score is a test which measures any buildup of heart plaque in the arteries of the heart. So plaque in the arteries, which is coronary artery disease or atherosclerosis, is 20% hard and 80% is a soft plaque. So plaque that is hard plaque, basically LDL particles that get deposited in the walls of the arteries over a period of time. And this is a process that takes decades. So when patients come to us and they already had calcification, that is a decade to several decade process, depending on their calcium score. So when the coronary artery calcium score, which is done, which is a non-invasive CAT scan, which is literally a 3-minute CAT scan done on the coronary arteries of the chest, we do the CAT scan, and we get a number called the Agustin score. So Agustin score is a number that is given to the individual based on the amount of calcium score that is calculated in the three arteries. So we have the coronary artery called the left main, which divides into the left anterior descending that comes in the front wall of the heart, which is typically the largest artery, also called the widowmaker lesions, which occur in the proximal part of the LAD. Then we have the circumflex artery that goes around the side wall of the heart, and the right coronary artery that comes along on the right side and goes to the bottom of the heart. So calcium score is determined by the amount of calcification in the arteries of the heart. And once the patient undergoes this test, the test gives us we give a number called the Agustin score. So when that calcium score is given, based on the MESA registry, which in fact was the data was published in the year 2006. So this is not something that has been going on for too long. You can just say almost like 17 years ago that this was the largest database study called the MESA registry, which was published. The classification of the calcium score is as follows. So when a number is given, it is anywhere from 0 to 1,000. So 0 is basically indicating no buildup of heart plaque in the arteries of the heart. So remember, we are only talking about the heart plaque in the arteries. So the classification is as follows. 0 is none, 1 to 10 is minimal, 11 to 100 is mild, 101 to 400 is mild to moderate, 400 severe, and over 1,000 is very severe. So once we have that calcium score that we obtain on the patient, we put their number, the Agustin score, into the MESA registry, and we calculate the percentile. So the deposition of calcium score that occurs in an individual is based on age and gender of the individual. So when we have the patient come in and we have their calcium score, which has been obtained by doing this non-invasive testing ahead of time, or we order it and then bring them back for discussion, the calcium score percentile is determined based on the age and gender. And once we have that number, we're able to say, so we have a gentleman here, 50-year-old gentleman who comes the score of a male. So it's the calcium score is dependent on the age and the gender of the individual. So if we have a 50-year-old male who comes in and his score is 100, once we put that data, we have a number called the percentile, and that comes as part of the report, and we share that with the patient. So patient comes in with a score of 100 and is 50 years old. So he has already, but his expected score, his percentile for that male will probably be close to 80th percentile, meaning that if we have 100 people of that male of that age on the database compared, 80 people will have scored lower than you, lower than him, and 20 will have scored higher than him. So once we have that number and the percentile, it's literally like a report card. It's what happens is we share that data with the patient and we say, sir, look, you have a score of 100. You are already in the 80th percentile. You will obviously need some further testing. You obviously going to need an aspirin. You'll need some nuclear stress tests. Your lipids will have to be managed very aggressively. And as recently as November of 2022, the ACC and AHA guidelines have in fact brought the LDL target levels from 70 to in fact 55 in patients who are high risk. So if you have patients, we have young patients with scores of 400, 500, even 1,000. And those patients are at high risk. They probably have some. So when you have a score, so the classification, let's go back. So 0 is none, 1 to 10 is minimal, 11 to 100 is mild, 101 to 400 is moderate to severe, 400 severe, and over 1000 is very severe. So if you have a score of 400, there is a statistically 28% chance of a severe occlusive disease in one of the coronary arteries. At a score of 1000, that percentage rises from 40 to 48%. So you can just see that when the patient comes in and they have all these high numbers, number one, you obviously need to do further investigation. They may have some symptom. If you go back and investigate them in detail, they may describe some mild exertional dyspnea, patients who come in with some shortness of breath. And this part of, as a pandemic, believe it or not, we have seen on an average, 75% of the population has gained between 10 to 20 pounds or more. And what happens when you gain weight? You gain weight, your cholesterol goes up, your HDL goes down, triglycerides are going up, A1C is going up. So it is, and silently the heart disease is following you. So understand that all of these, and this for cancer rises, and as you said, all the risk factors that cause heart disease also lead to cancer. So when patients are developing buildup of plaque and arteries, and once you have a high calcium score, what happens is we share the data with them, do some non-invasive testing, stress testing. Sometimes you need an angiogram intervention. And if you go into the details of these patients, they may say, you know what, 3 years ago, doc, I was able to climb stairs. But now, you know, when I go, I have to stop after one flight because I get short of breath. Symptoms are sometimes can be subtle. It can be anything. In cardiology, a good history is such an important thing in the form, whether it's a patients may experience some chest discomfort, tightness, shortness of breath, fatigue. Women have atypical symptoms. They have more atypical than men. So their symptoms can be subtle. So those symptoms have to, a good history is important. The diagnostic testing, as we talked about, the EKG, echocardiogram, calcium score, that leading on to further in the form of a nuclear stress test, including invasive angiograms. And now we also have non-invasive technology in the form of coronary CTAs. I was, in fact, the very first group of, in 2007, we had the first board certification of coronary CTA. So in spite of being an intervention cardiologist, I became board certified in coronary CTA because I was doing coronary calcium scores since 2000. In fact, I can proudly say I introduced coronary calcium scores in the Methodist system. As the Methodist was opened in about 11 years ago, I was the first physician to take the brochures from the memorial system and bring it to Methodist, and we initiated the calcium score. So I have taken a lead role in initiating the calcium scores in Houston. And in fact, currently we are working with Dr. Memarian to create one of the database and put some research, because I have literally 23-year data follow-ups on patients that I began starting doing calcium score. So once you have that calcium score and we are able to share that data with the patient becomes, it's amazing. They become very compliant because now they need an aspirin, they need a statin, their LDLs need to be brought down below 75. We have some non-statin drugs that just have been released that also reduce risk of heart attack and death. So there's so much that we can do to prevent future risk of heart disease is preventable, and heart attacks are greatly preventable if proper care is given and disease is diagnosed in a timely manner. Because once you have a heart attack and there is damage to the heart, you still will do all the intervention, but it absolutely reduces the lifespan. Because once the heart muscle is damaged, that becomes one of the biggest markers for future longevity is the ejection fraction or the strength of the heart. If there's been a damage to the heart, it reduces the lifespan significantly depending on the amount of damage. So we can prevent that from happening by appropriately diagnosing these things ahead of time. So we urge patients to obtain care by consultation with their physicians, be proactive, ask them coronary calcium score. So get you a little information on the coronary calcium score. In the Methodist system, I had taken a lead initiative. Calcium score, unfortunately, is not covered under insurance, but the total cost of calcium score is just mere $140. So it's not something, and it's not that something that you would be doing on a yearly basis. This is done anywhere from follow-up can be done in 5 years or 10 years or 7 years, depending on the risk factors. Or if the score is 0, then you may not repeat it as soon unless you have diabetes or other risk factors. So we urge you to check with your physician, reach out for preventive care, ask for calcium scores, and then obviously further testing needs to be done. So I didn't. So this is to give you a little idea that is those are the arteries of the heart: the L main, left ventricle descending. So you can see the calcium score is reflected as those white spots, and the amount of those white spots you get the actual Agatston score, and basically measure the calcium score. So I mean, this is some of the things. So this was the classification I discussed. So essentially, basically, I talked about the preventive care measures and obviously lifestyle modification. I'm also board certified in lifestyle medicine. We incorporate exercise, yoga, meditation, mindfulness. I, in fact, teach my patients pranayam, and Devji also knows that I'm becoming a certified yoga teacher through the American Yoga Academy. I've finished all the 15 modules, and in the next month or so, I'll become a certified yoga teacher also. I teach my patients pranayam. I should demonstrate them. The techniques, I document it in the patient notes. So we incorporate lifestyle modification in our practice. So any questions, I'll be glad to answer. Thank you so much. Namaste. I'm sorry? The calcium testing is done by the doctor's order at the hospital at Methodist West. In the Methodist system, any hospital does it for $140. And we, in fact, do the Heart Scan Plus, where we do the scan of the carotid, heart scan, calcium score, carotid, aorta for an aneurysm, and peripheral vascular disease circulation. So the entire package is $205. Probably the best $205 you will ever spend in your own healthcare.
We'll take questions in a minute.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Suneja.
Thank you.
It's amazing, right? Long-time cardiologist going to yoga and natural ways of improving your health. Having said that, let me introduce Dr. Muralidharan. He is a certified naturopathist. He came to us through the Patanjali Wellness Center back in 2021, and he's been practicing that. So he'll share the next step of going holistic cardiac care, natural ways, naturopathy. Dr. Muralidharan. Yeah, let me open it. Yeah. Yes. It's too small. Yeah, that was now. There we go.
All right, good morning, everyone. I think like most of you don't know me. My name is Muralidharan Ramalingam. I'm into Ayurveda for the last 17 years. Pretty much young to both the preceders now. And I thank Dr. Anil and Suneja for their deeper insight on cardiovascular diseases. And I'll try to put some light on Ayurvedic side, how we can prevent cardiac diseases and like what are the herbs that can be like used every day to like get out of this chronic disease. So heart in Ayurveda is called as Hridayam. So Hridaya is made out of three words, Hru, Da, and Yam. So Hru means the receiver, and Da means the giver, and Yam means the regulator. So it receives the bad blood, gives the good blood, and regulates the whole body modification, right? So heart is nothing but a metabolism that is happening throughout the body, and it is reflecting in a better way to keep you moving. All right. So it's the health of the good heart is not just depends on the heart, it depends on so many other factors as well. All right. It is emotional as well as physical. Physically, it gives you all the movements in the body. And emotionally, the stress factor or the depression, whatever you're having, is having an impact in your heart health. So it's very important to make sure that we are stress-free as well as like having a very good lifestyle so that the heart stays in a good health, right? So there are certain factors which affects the heart and gives the heart diseases. And Ayurveda has so many reasons. And one among them is the stress factor, which is like when you are stressed, you are giving like more pressure to your heart, and it is supposed to work harder than what it is supposed to be, right? Your body is not meant to be like taking too much pressure from the external factors. It has its own rhythm. So it follows that. When we move out of the circadian rhythm, then body has to like put more work, and that is causing pressure to all the organs of the body, especially to this heart. And there are certain causative factors that has been explained in Ayurveda, like holding the natural urges. We may feel like we are in middle of the meeting, like we are in the seminar now. We may have to like use the bathroom, but just not to miss this conversation, we may have to hold it, but that is not right. We have to listen to the bodily urges. We should evacuate all those urges whenever we get that. There are 10 urges that is mentioned in Ayurveda that should never be held. And one among them is like urine or like bowel movements and sweating and all the stuffs. So we should ensure that we are listening to our body when it is calling you. And also there is like frequent eating that happens. We may think like we are eating lesser quantity of the food, but we eat for like 7 to 8 times in a day. That adds up to the metabolism that it has to work. Your body is like meant to process the food in a certain amount of time. There is a hydrochloric acid secretion that will be happening in the stomach, and that digests the food. When you are eating at non-digestive period, then it is going to take more stress. And drinking water at unusual timings, like just before the food or after the food immediately or in between the meal, that is going to dilute the digestive acid, and that is going to cause the digestion to take very slow, and that causes the collapse in the metabolism completely, and that gives the pressure to your heart as well. It's because everything is related. All right. And there are some other things as well, like that has been mentioned, like doing things in excessive. Anything like exercise or eating food, or like you are taking some cleansing therapies, if it is like too much of a strong purgatives like elimination therapies, if you're doing, then that is going to put pressure to your heart as well. So in Ayurveda, there are 5 types of heart diseases. So even though we have like modern segregations in a different way, Ayurveda sees everything in the basis of doshas. There are 3 doshas in the body: Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Right? And these 3 doshas controls our body. Whatever happens inside and outside of the body are done by these 3 doshas. So we need to have these 3 doshas in a balanced state to call oneself as a healthy person. Whenever there is an imbalance, that's called as a disease or a discomfort, right? These 3 doshas will not be in a balance unless until we follow a strict diet or a lifestyle in a proper way, right? So irrespective of like what the dosha is, we all have a combination that is specific or individualized for everybody. So there are 3 doshas that will be in a different combination on each one of us. So understanding that domination, we need to choose our lifestyle and food according to that. By doing that, we will ensure that there is no disease in the body itself. So there are 3 doshas that controls everything, and that gives like 5 different types of heart diseases. So Vataja Hridroga, Pittaja Hridroga, Kaphaja Pradroha, Tridoshaja, all 3 combinations, and Krimija. So Vataja is happening because of the Vata energy, which is controlling the nervous system, and also it is like responsible for the movements. The movement of the heart is maintained by this Vata dosha. When it is like affected, it is going to cause pain. It can be like a cruciating pain, it can be pricking pain, it can be like churning kind of pain. Whatever it is you are feeling, that is due to this Vata. And Pittaja will be with the fire. The pitta is nothing but the fire energy, which will cause all this burning sensation, sweating, or like fainting, all kind of symptoms when you have a heart disease. And kaphaja, it is like very heavy. Kapha is water energy, and which is heavy and stiff in nature. The movements of the whole body will become like less, and automatically you become like very lazy and slow with this condition. And tridoshaja, you will be feeling all those symptoms in combination. And krimija, krimi is nothing but with the germs, we can say. Like when we are like more fond of eating like too much of sweets, like jaggery or like any laddu or something like that, when we eat too much of it, there will be like some like dampness that will be created inside the body. When the dampness is circulated in the blood, it reaches the heart. There it causes like a very favorable situation for the germs to germinate in there. Once it forms, then it is going to cause the Krimija type of heart disease in the body. And it will be because of the dampness, you will be having that too much of sweating and nausea and anorexia. All these things will be associated with the heart disease. And so there are 5 different ways of like taking care of your heart. Usually like one is leading a stress-free life. Try to take things light as much as possible. Whatever happens, let's see the positive side of it. Even if you like fall down, we need to see that like we are not bleeding out of like falling down. So we just take the positive side of it. All right. And practicing some yoga, where like in Arya Samaj, we have this yoga that is happening every weekend. So we should make use of it and practice yoga every day. And pranayama, kapalbhati, or like anulom vilom, every day if you practice, we keep the disease away from our body. So Ayurveda is usually a preventive medicine rather than a treatment medicine. So it gives you guidelines for like to stay away from all the diseases. But once you fall sick, of course, Ayurveda has some treatment, but still it is mainly focusing on prevention. As the statement of health goes in Ayurveda, samadosha samagnischa samadatu malakriya prasanna atmendriya manaha swastha iti abhidiyate. It's like prasanna, atma, indriya, and manas. So along with that balanced dosha, dhatu, agni, and mala. So dosha is nothing but 3 doshas, the 3 energies that needs to be in balance. And sama dhatu, there are 7 tissues in the body that needs to be properly nourished. By getting the nourishment, we ensure that there is good health. And sama agni, the digestive fire has to be like in a proper way. And sama malakriya, that is like we have to eliminate the bowels or urine and the sweat in a proper way. If you're not sweating enough, there is like no elimination of toxins from the body out. So we should ensure that at least every day, like we do like 15-20 minutes of workout, making sure that we are sweating enough. All right. Along with these 4 factors, there should be a prasanna atmendriya manaha. The pleasant state of mind, spirit, and soul should be there. So mind as in like mana can be compared to heart as well as the mind here. So the pleasant state has to be maintained to call oneself as a healthy person. As Dr. Anil displayed in the initial state, swasthya rakshana maturasya vikara prashamanam. So maintaining the health of a healthy person and treating the person who is unhealthy is considered as a Ayurvedic medicine usually. And there are like herbs that can be used in Ayurveda on a regular basis with the suggestion from the physicians. And one among them is Arjuna, Terminalia Arjuna, which is very well proven as a cardiotonic drug. And it is very good in improving your circulation throughout the coronary artery and also prevents heart muscles from getting ischemic damages. And the another one which we can use regularly at your home is the garlic. So it has a very good potency to like prevent you from getting the flakes and the atherosclerosis or something, which can lead to the arteriosclerosis as well. So this will prevent you getting into those kind of situations. And one is the mentioned information about like the taste of the food. Amlo hridaya annam. So there are 6 tastes in the world: sweet, sour, salt, bitter, pungent, and astringent. So we should ensure that at least we have all these 6 tastes in one meal of the day. And based on our body type, we need to choose other taste for the rest of the meal. All right. So sweet, sour, and salt will increase the vata in the body. Sweet, sour, and salt will increase the kapha in the body. Bitter, pungent, and astringent will increase the vata in the body. Sour, salt, and pungent will increase the pitta in the body. So this cardiac disease is mainly caused by all 3 doshas, and there will be like, we need to know that we should need all 6 tastes, and understanding our body, we should go for other taste. So one meal, if you see like Indian thali meal, you will see like every taste in there. There will be like little achar there, there will be a sweet, there will be salt, there will be yogurt and everything. So that contains all the 6 tastes of it, right? In that case, we should understand that body needs all this taste so that the moderation of everything is good in Ayurveda, right? So understanding your body, you need to do everything, but based on your condition, you need to prefer certain things and you have to avoid certain things. And amla rasa, that is the sour taste, is best for the cardiac conditions. So try to have more because the pitta will be like increasing with the amla taste. So when the pitta is increasing, then it is going to, pitta has a direct relationship with the blood. All right. So blood will be taken care when you take more amla, lavana, and the katuagara. And of course, do not smoke. It's not good for your whole body as well as your heart. So try not to smoke. Even if you are addicted, better give it up. And whatever information has given so far is just suggestions. I always recommend to like talk to your PCP and make sure that you are allowed to like take those Ayurvedic herbs and also talk to the Ayurvedic doctor, which is recommended for you, because we cannot take all those herbs that are like available in the market for the heart condition or something like that. We should understand our body type and which will go good with us has to be determined, right? If you have any questions, you can always give us a call, visit our website to know more about Ayurveda. And thank you so much. And I thank Sanjay Jain and Sanjay Naya for the opportunity, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Anil, Dr. Suneja, Dr. Murli, everybody attending. So now is the, I want to say, best part of the session. We're going to have the doctor sit here and answer your questions. As many questions as you have is more. Try to be, well, expect an answer more generic, because you can share your condition, but they're not going to diagnose you. I just want to do that disclaimer, because that's very difficult. Like Dr. Murli just said, consult your PCP, consult. So it's very difficult to give you exact answer, but I think this will be good for the whole group. So I'm going to pull the chairs here, give them a microphone, and we can go ahead and Sanjay ji. So Jasbir ji, so we'll take that now. And I think there was a question ahead of time, but may I interrupt and, oh, you have to leave? Okay. So you want dosha practice? Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Well, we're going to miss Dr. Murli because he's going to be doing a consultation right now. So okay. So I'm going to take up on Dr. Suneja's point about calcium scoring. And Dr. Suneja, this may be, good for many. I have personally in last 10 years, stress test, nuclear stress test, PET test, and CT angio. And, I hear about calcium scoring, and you talked about it last year too. So I want to understand what is the difference in these and what we gain from each one of those.
I think that's Sanjay, actually an excellent question. So so they're all non-invasive testing to essentially try to figure out your block the arteries. So EKG is a test that gives us just an idea about the voltage, and it's a very really rudimentary test. Gives us even if EKG is normal, we can still have sleep disease. So it's a good screening test. Leads up to so much arrhythmias and stuff like that. But next comes the echocardiogram, which is the non-invasive ultrasound of the heart that tells us about the heart function, the valves, and wall thickness, any abnormality in the valves, blockage in the valves, weakness in the valves. That's another anatomical information of the structure of the heart. Then next comes the physiological testing for blockages. So that is divided into, when we do a regular stress test, which has good 70-80% accuracy. Nuclear stress testing from 90% accuracy.
So what does the stress test do? And the PET scan is even more higher, close to 95% accuracy in detecting presence of blockages, in the sense that if there is the presence of significant blockages, that means that if there is obstruction more than 7%, it obstructs the flow to the arteries of the heart. So you can have mild blockages, mild to moderate, where it is not obstructing the flow, but stress test will be normal, where you do the imaging in the stress situation and the resting situation. If the blood to the heart is normal in those two sets, then there is no obstruction of blood flow. So those are safe. But next, so these are physiological tests, regular stresses, uterine stresses, and breast stresses, even superior to the uterine stresses. Then comes the calcium score, the CT angio. So CT angio is the ultimate. CT angio is the ultimate non-invasive angiogram of the arteries of the heart. So when your CT angiogram is done, it's basically inject contrast into the arm, then you take pictures of the arteries of the heart, and you actually take pictures of the arteries of the heart. So when the CT angio is done, they actually can add a calcium score. It's literally a 30-second additional. So it can be done right at that time. If they did not do it, it's okay. They will give you still an idea about the anatomy of the artery blockage, yes or no. So if you have had the CT angio, that is the ultimate non-invasive test. And we actually do recommend that also many times. I've done this on myself several times, a couple of times. And obviously, there's some exposure to the radiation, but we have machines that are now the incidence of the amount of radiation is so minimized with technological advances that CT angio is the ultimate, because many times the insurance may not possibly do it, but we can even do that at a reasonable cost, and that is possible. I have worked with the system to do close to about $200 cash pay, which is not bad. So, because with the insurance, it is sometimes called up to $10,000. And the heart catheterization is a lot more invasive and a lot more risky. So calcium score is a lead on. When the score is 0, then and if you don't have diabetes or you don't have history of smoking, the chances of you having a soft plaque is also almost 0. So that is a great. But if you have higher score, then you can ultimately got some symptoms and stress test. So there are many times you say, you find out, oh no, my patient, he had a stress and everything was normal, and then they passed away, or they had open heart surgery. There is some there are periods where you may be missing it. So many times, sometimes you can have what's called balance ischemia. You can have blockages, severe blockages in all the 3 arteries of the heart, but the stress test may appear normal. It's called balance ischemia. The whole thing is you have to listen to the patient's self and CT angiogram. Calcium score is a good tip off, but it tells you that if your score is 0, I will have patients who require intervention and angioplasty stents. The score 0. The answer is yes. Very rare, but it can still happen. Most in diabetic patients. But the chances of that happening is very low. To listen to the patients, and ultimately a good history in physical examination is also key to adding all that to your clinical judgment. But all these diagnostic modalities, if the CT angio is done, one has to additionally request to get a calcium score also. But CT angio is the ultimate non-invasive angiogram. So we have that to really do it.
In general, our main emphasis is what patient is telling us is a most important. So if the patient says that I used to be healthy, I used to run, I was aggressive, for the last 3 months, when I go on one flight of stairs, I feel like I can stop. That's a big thing. Now, if the same patient gets a stress of any kind, as Dr. Suneja mentioned, and if that's negative, we're not going to believe the stress test. We believe the patient more, because that's what is important. That if he's having a problem, we don't find. So we go to the stage, which will be CT angiogram. CT angiogram. CT angiogram, in fact, has more value than even doing a cochlear angiogram in a cath lab, because it's about the small movements which are sitting there And a lot of time in the gap, you can miss smaller flags because it's you're looking at a negative limit. So, and secondly, when you do a CT angiogram, you can actually tell how significantly vulnerable that flag is, because when there is a blockage in the heart arteries, most people don't have heart attack because they have 90% blockage. Most of the heart attack occurs in people who have blockage less than 50%. So heart attack does not happen in calcified artery. It happens in the ones which are less significantly blocked. Important of having CT angiogram is actually knowing it is there. And sometimes the stress test negative is a false sense of security. So, so that's why people who have those smaller flags, they need to go with an aggressive lifestyle program, just like the movie was saying, to use everything. The Achar, Vihar, everything comes into the focus then, apart from medication and the rest of the world.
That AI is making big inroads into cardiovascular imaging, and I recently I flew to New York. There's a company called there's a software called Fury, which is a software identification of the vulnerable factor. So it's a really software. CC 3 weeks ago in New Orleans, so they were demonstrating it. I in fact took my own CT and flew to New York, got it clearly done, and I had a great report, including me and my wife. So there is, and I can say that I'm in the process of potentially bringing this technology to Houston in the next 6 months to a year. Someone in the company to bring that. So we are, so these are, there is a lot of advancement happening, just not to identify the plaque, but to see the morphology of the plaque and see if it is vulnerable or not. And then lifestyle modification can make these unstable plaques to stable plaque by bringing your sugar down. So very important key is to make sure that you are doing some physical activity, we say 450 minutes of physical activity a week, and then making plenty of water, 60-70 ounces. And then keeping the sugar low. We all, you, me, everybody, we all eat a lot of carbs. And I tell 6-7 things in carbs. Bread, the biggest culprit of bread, pasta, dessert, snacks, potatoes, rice, alcohol. And of course, most of us probably are vegetarians. I'm vegetarian, but if you are eating meats and reduce the consumption of meat, even though it's not harm, but basically yes, maintaining the lifestyle, eating less, exercising more. And I'll give you all just a very basic formula for weight loss. We all struggle, but I'll give you the basic mathematics for the mathematics of weight loss is, so 3,500 calories is equal to 1 pound. In order to lose 1 pound, you have to have a negative balance of 3,500 calories. So I say, do 500 calories less per day, but negative balance of 500 calories less per day. If you do it every day of the week, do 7 days a week, you have lost 3,500 calories. That's equal to 1 pound weight loss in a week. Now that 500 calories are divided into 2 parts. 250 is where you reduce the carb consumption. So that a piece of bread has 80 calories. So just give it an idea. But if we talk about desserts, people may not realize desserts are extremely high. We're talking about 250, 200, 300, 400, 500 calories in a single serving. So if you eat 250 calories less per day, and you burn 250 calories more per day, so that is a negative balance of 500 calories per day. So burning 250 calories is 30 minutes of moderate exercise and brisk pace, walking, stuff like that, whatever. So if you do 250 calories less per day, you burn 250 calories more per day, that gives you a negative balance of 500 calories a day. Now comes consistency. Even if you do 3 to 4 times a week, that's okay, because you lose half a pound a week. If you do it every day of the week, you lose a pound a week. Weight loss is the best medicine, because by reducing weight, reducing the belly fat, we are able to modify all of these factors. Cholesterol gets better, HDL gets better, LDL goes down, A1C goes down, plaques stabilize. So, weight control is critically important, and especially the pandemic, as we talked about, 3% of the population has gained weight to 10, 20 pounds and possibly more. So So this is, I think, a key important message is eating healthy, exercising, and incorporating positive thoughts to yoga, meditation. All those things are
Hello, yeah, if anybody has not got their EKG done and they want to get it done, please do it now. They'll be leaving at 11 o'clock. And this can be extended for some time, sir? Okay.
Visiting with the cardiologist, so that is quite high, and that depending on the age of the individual, the percentile is going to be higher. 73, yeah, so the probably percentile is, I would say, close to 70-75 percentile. So it is a high score, at least, visit with the cardiologist, the good history, nuclear imaging, and lifestyle modification, even nuclear imaging negative, and there are no any symptom. There is symptoms, CT angio plus minus. So, yeah, so those are high scores that require those monitoring and evaluation. Yes, diet, aspirin, statin, diet modification, weight loss. Yes, those are all important parts of medical management.
If all the calcium is in one artery, then so when we do the calcium score, we are looking at 3 arteries and then combining the score and make a number of it. This is 500. Now, sometimes all the calcium is there in one artery. That is 500 number for that person is significant. So those patients should go for next stage of evaluation, which could be coronary angiogram or, a full complete coronary CT angiogram.
Score is very high, about 500-600 CT angio, sometimes become because of the blue artifact, becomes difficult to identify. So, everything has there's some limitation with these technologies also. So if you have too much calcification, the CT angio may not be as great, but the newer technologies, the new software are making it better and better. So, we are having tremendous technological advancements also. But just to just give you an idea, 500-600 beyond that, the CT angiogram specifically goes down because the imaging becomes limited. Well, the calcium score is becoming main, like it's still, even Medicare IPD still is not covering it. So, we are still fighting the specialty of cardiovascular CT was the Society Board certification began in year 2007 or 2008. So you can see it's not been there for too long, but I have been incorporating into my practice since 2000. I've utilized it on literally thousands of patients, found it very useful. It is not the end all testing, but it guides you for further evaluation management. It improves the patient compliance tremendously. Once the patients see their scores are high, they start taking their aspirin, they start taking their medications. Now there are statin drugs have a lot of side effects. There are side effects. We have non-statin drugs, we have injectable drugs. We shoot the LDL targets to 70 or below, sometimes even 55. If you have a 50-year-old with the score of 500, then LDL we want to bring it from the lowest below 55 because they are about premature heart disease. So, it improves the compliance of the patients also.
Dr. Suneja has been very, very smart that he has been doing it ahead of time. In the last 3-4 years, this importance of doing this calcium score has increased so much that it has become the last 2021, the new guidelines that the American College of Cardiology brought it has coronary CT angio has become one of the first investigation to do in the emergency room. Instead of going through stress tests and everything, so in the Europe, they are already practicing it for a few years. And like I said, Dr. Suneja was ahead of time, so he believed in this technology. But as you said, there are a lot of non-believers, but now everybody has enough data, scientific data, to support the use of calcium scoring and CT angiogram. And personally, for myself, I have been doing this since 2010 and used to be medical director for the cardiovascular imaging. I have 5 offices where all CT angio calcium score was being done. But I, in my own practice, in my own group, maybe there were 30% of cardiologists who will always bring up this question. Oh, why do we want to do this? And now it's becoming clear and clear with the all scientific evidence that this is the way to go, because you are going beyond a stress test. You're thinking ahead of time. And so I have a couple of slides. I just wanted to 3 minutes on these slides about what not to eat is very, very important. As Dr. Suneja was saying, a diet which is high in sugar or sugary drinks, simple carbohydrates like maida, or trans fats, which is the totally unsaturated fats, which is like I would say desi ghee or coconut oil, palm oil, all those oils, and high salt foods are what we need to avoid. And what we need to avoid, of course, is red meat, because red meat in any way is not it is not good, because it's processed, it's animal meat, and everything else is wrong with it. But also the chicken, the breaded chicken is an important component to avoid. And there are always choices we can make. The fruit juices, as Dr. Suneja was saying, it's not a very healthy, in today's environment or lifestyle, does not allow us to take calories which we drink, which are easy calories. So you want fiber in the diet. So that's why you can substitute it with the actual fruit. So a green apple or strawberry, blueberry. The fruits can be divided into 2 types. One is the fruit which has high glycemic index, which means if you take a fruit and it's more sugar, like mango, right? Like chiku in India, what we used to eat. So anything which is more sugar is not good. You can avoid that, even though we say that you should take a mix of colors of food, which includes yellow color, red color, all colors. But some of the fruits like mangoes, like pineapple, they're very sugary. So you want to avoid that. It doesn't mean you want to completely not take it, but your limitation should be like 1 slice of a mango maximum, not the full mango. So, because they all add to the things. One of the biggest things that has happened in the last 3 years is what we as Indians, as civilization, we always practiced. And with the coming of this change in the civilization, when the Industrial Revolution happened, when the coming of the mill, the whole food changed all over the world to a more refined foods, which means refined atta, refined maida, and this was brought by the Industrial Revolution. However, even in India itself, if you look at which states are suffering more as compared to which states are not suffering less, are the ones which are the richer states, because there the food was considered like pre-independence or early independence area. The food was considered like the maida was considered more like a food of the rich, while the most important ingredient of India was the legumes and the whole grains. So what is a whole grain? This is what is the most important message of the day would be in your diet. You want to include whole grains. Go back to your own culture and pick up things like barley, like ragi, like brown rice, like jawar, like amaranth, all these things. And the reason is, if you look at the picture on the left side, the whole grain, most important ingredients are in the outer shell. And when you actually put it into the mill and refine it and all, so all the good part is gone and the tasty part is left. So it's the outer layer which contains all the vitamins, the minerals, and all you need, and the fiber actually, which is the most important thing. So when you are choosing ingredients of what to eat, the most important thing is you need to see what's the whole list in an order of the carbohydrates that we can consume. As Dr. Suneja was saying, the bread should be less, and the fruits and vegetables, the oatmeal, the unprocessed whole grains should be more. And there is a way to inculcate this in the habits. If somebody is interested, I can guide them more. You can go to a website, and this is one of the largest investigating authority on Asians' heart disease. It's the Masala study that was done from the University of San Francisco as well as the Chicago. So if you go to the website Masala study, you'll get all the Indians, what Indians we need to do. In our diet, how can we change our breakfast? How can we change our multiple articles on that and all the scientific data. In fact, for the last 3-4 years, Modi ji has been promoting millets like this to the extent that UNO has declared 2023 as the International Year of Millets. So the whole world is going to get the benefit of what the American College of Cardiology, American Heart Association has been preaching for the last 20 years, that your food should have more whole grains, but nobody actually was practicing it. Nobody knew what whole grain means. So nobody was doing it. So India is actually contributing in a big way now to make industries for whole grain, farming for whole grain, promoting it, and giving it to the world. So there is always think of a substitute that you can do. Say, for example, if you like to drink fruit juice, you want like sweetened soda or all that stuff, think of a substitute. Think like lemon water, or which is a very good. It's all how you develop your taste. So you have to change your habit. Like I said, we are walking with a loaded gun. All we can do is to change our lifestyle and risk factors. That's all we can do. So same thing, if you like desserts, a lot of us, including me, we like kheer, we like our Indian desserts more. But we can always substitute that with something else. Like you think of innovative ways to make a ragi halwa or something like with a non-sugar product, and it can be a palm sugar, or it can be some form of a non-sugar, and that could be one way to drink. Most Indians don't drink alcohol, but there's always a substitute for that. And increasing physical activity, as Dr. Suneja was saying, is the key. We Indians don't do much physical activities, and the most important activities are not just running on the treadmill. The most important activity is actually not running on the treadmill. Most important activity for us, because our problem is not just like everybody else. Our problem is that it's the visceral fat which is inflamed is the biggest problem. So we call it metabolic syndrome, and it's the basically Indian paradox. As compared to the world, in India, if you see here, obesity is not a big problem as compared to the rest of the world. It's more problem in Middle East, it's more problem in America, it's more problem everywhere. What is important is the type of obesity. We call it apple type of obesity. Like you're more bloated up in the middle of the body as compared to the whole body. Now, this is a picture of showing mild obesity. I'm not talking about obese people. This person with a little belly is at high risk. And if the same person has something like we always, as physicians, look for some markers of atherosclerosis which will be present in the skin. If the same person has, this is skin tags on the neck or in the armpit, this is a clear-cut sign of metabolic syndrome, hyperinsulinism, pre-diabetes, even if their blood tests do not show it. So we have to reverse it, because it's like a pyramid. When we see a patient with heart attack, problem started 20 years ago. And what we need is a lifestyle in which that problem can be reversed. And the best way to do that would be lifestyle changes and yoga, and including everything, meditation, music, and what we eat.
Bananas are the fruit with the highest specific index. Many people do not realize it. So bananas, oranges, mangoes, and grapes and pineapple. So but if you have all the berries, the strawberry, blackberries, raspberry, they are more complex carbs, and their glycemic index is low. So, and then on the desserts, we do a small amount. So the thing is that instead of eating whole gulab jamun stuff, it used to do half or something. And moderation, because That's also very, very important. It's okay from time to time because I also have. But the key is moderation and then balance with increasing activity.
Super presentation, all of you. Congratulations for that. A couple of points. The point that Dr. Kumar was making about the orange juice. I've been telling this to people that 1 glass of orange juice will take about 5 oranges. You can't eat 5 oranges in a day. So I gave up all juices many, many years ago and sodas. And then, Dr. Kumar, you were showing the slide about the chicken size of the chickens. There was some numbers under there. Is that what? Wait, chicken. Okay, got it. Yes. It's coming in us, our own country. Exactly. And then, is all black calcium? Oh. Okay, okay. Right. Right. Now, you mentioned about the heart muscle damage. Can you explain exactly?
When patients have heart attack, the heartbeat blocks, is blocked 100%. And that leads to acute heart attack, leads to blockage with damage to the heart muscle. And when we do emergency interventions with angioplasty stents, we open up the blockage and relieve that obstruction so the heart muscle blood flow can come back and repair that damage. So, but if you have had obstruction of flow over and then it's not been opened up in a reasonable amount of time, then the heart muscle gets damaged permanently, leading to what's called reduced ejection fraction, which is the strength of the heart. Then that leads to congestive heart failure and reduces the longevity.
So those muscles don't have a chance to come back to the original condition.
That we have damage, and if the damage has been repaired very quickly, you can almost bring it back to normal, but it has been damaged. Now there are multiple medications that will help you improve that heart function. And you can, in fact, with medications that if your ejection fraction is low, defibrillators and BiBICDs, you can and sometimes even bring it almost. So, but it like your risk for congestive heart failure rises. So, but it requires continuous medical management, more meds, and all that stuff. Yeah, but there are times when we can almost unbelievably bring the heart muscle back almost to normal. It's medication and technological advances have made unbelievable advances in the last decade and a half. So that hard, but there are medications that can be given to bring it to back, and then it depends on the individual, do they respond to that or not. But their lifespan, it's affected. A heart that is strong, their trajectory of a lifespan is different. Once it is damaged, that's we call it one of the biggest markers of longevity. Or we can see that if you have heart muscle is damaged, you will never be like normal. It's just because there has been damage that has occurred. You've got risk of arrhythmia. Yeah.
Is closed, is dying with time. So number one important thing is whenever there is a suspicion that like doctor can open the artery.
So a question here.
Time.
Yeah. So First of all, thank you both for giving us such a good explanation on things. I have a different type of question. I've been lately debating with some friends as to relative benefits of exercise between walking and biking. Which is more beneficial in terms of cardio benefits or for overall health benefits point?
Well, the key is, we say the cardiovascular benefits occurs when your target heart rate between 75 to 85% of your THR, or the target heart rate based on your age. So if you are doing things which help you, and walking, you cannot just walk slow, but you need to get your heart rate up in the 65 to 75 to 85% range of your expected based on your age, which is 220 minus age is equal to 100% of your THR, or your target heart rate. You want to bring the heart rate between 75 to 85% of that. And that gives you the cardiovascular benefits. When you achieve THR for extended periods of time beyond 85%, then you're working towards weight loss. So the key is that if you're walking briskly, that's great. If you're bike riding, probably your heart rate is going up a little bit more. So there's a little bit more activity. Treadmill obviously pushes you more. But when patients are overweight, they may not be able to do any of those things. So even in those cases, even brisk walking does not matter. You got to start. I say journey of 1,000 miles begin with a single step. So just start walking. There was a beautiful article in New York Times 4 or 5 years ago. There was a gentleman who was 500, 600 pounds and didn't know where to start. He got a dog. He started walking 5 minutes. Then he started 10, 15. It was a beautiful article. And a journey of the end of 1 year, he had lost 200 pounds just by walking every day. Rain or shine, he started
the
walking.
consistency.
So it's just consistency becomes the matter.
Yeah.
And what happens is when you are having positive results, you emotionally, you get boosted, you are going to do more, and pushes psychologically, you start doing better, you start doing more. And when you are losing weight, it's a positive reinforcement. So it pushes you and you start performing better. And what happens is when you start exercising, psychologically, you start eating better. Why? Because you walked half an hour, you burn 250 calories, you see this piece of pie, which has probably 400 calories. You say, no, you know what? I'm not going to eat that because that completely ruins my entire hard work of half hour. So you may have a little small. So psychologically, when you start exercising, you automatically start eating better. So it's very important, eating, exercising, they all kind of go hand in hand.
So as long as you're having the same heart rate level of heart rate, it doesn't matter whether you're walking or you're biking.
No, it doesn't matter. Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
yeah, but probably bike riding probably is a little bit more strenuous on the aerobic activity scale. Or if you're walking briskly, of course, you may be almost leveling that. Running on the treadmill, if you're running at 3 miles per hour, or if you're working at 5 miles per hour, then obviously your aerobic activity will be more. So the key is to get your heart rate up going slowly. But if you're not exercise much, then you cannot just go on. So then we say, you know what, then please start walking. And then you will see that you start, because when patients are overweight, the knees are being affected, they may not be able to do a whole lot. But when you start losing a little bit of weight, then you are able to walk faster and you're able to go longer. And, it's success because success. So you just do better and then you will continue to do better and better. But you got to start somewhere.
So the most important thing is to avoid physical inactivity. So this concept of heart rate is predominantly a Western concept, and a lot of people, exercise physiologists, may not actually agree with it. Most important thing is that usually in US, it's like if you take the average, people, despite not counting the sleep time, they have 6 to 7 hours of physical inactivity. What is important is to have mini exercises in between, and 10 minutes of little, say, just doing marching. And so this thing improves your circulation much more than pursuing something aggressive. And anything you do outdoor is going to have better results than anything you do indoor. So going to the gym, doing treadmill, it's good to go on a walk. It's good to go on a brisk walk whenever you're walking, take your dog out. Or if you're jogging, little light jogging is good. Any form of exercise is good. One more important thing to do is to always involve your core in the exercises. So if you actually see I was seeing the people that were doing yoga here, it is so important. It always focuses on some of the things that we always miss while we are at the gym, is involving the core, involving the breathing into the exercise, involving pranayama into exercise. And because this is not just about the muscle, it's about your mind, it's about your spirit, it's about everything else inside the body. It's your subclinical mind, which is what you in Ayurveda call the Manomaya Kosha, which is what is the most important seat of basically driving your heart rate up. So a lot of time we think, I'm on the treadmill and my heart rate is going up, but it is you're not active, so you're not happy, you're not listening to the music, your mind is focused somewhere else. So that's why your heart rate, you're watching the news, you're seeing something which you don't like. So I don't see heart rate as a number one chaser for, I would rather keep a log, okay, that how much I did exercise and how much was my non-exercise time. Like I was watching the TV for 3 hours, watching an Indian movie. It's good to give a break in between, get up, do some 10 minutes of little I would say like simple kadam tal type thing, exercise, and improve your circulation. As we grow older, this is more required than doing anything aggressive.
Can I? Okay. So lately we have heard in the news about the sugar substitute. Okay, the erythritol or something that's been incorporated into many different products. So what is your opinion on that?
So basically, what is a sugar substitute? So sugar is of multiple types, and not every sugar is bad. So there is a common used sugar in since 1950s is something that we call fructose corn syrup based sugar. This all is capitalist idea of changing from cane sugar to this, and it made everything cheaper, right, for the industry. So that is the worst sugar to take. The second comes the cane sugar. It's not that bad, but definitely if somebody is pre-diabetic, so this is not a good thing to do. And then there are sugar substitutes. So sugar substitutes are, well, you need to always read in what it is. So say, for example, stevia. If you go to Costco and buy the regular stevia that it looks green and everything, it has hidden ingredients, and that ingredient is erythritol. And erythritol has effects on the liver and other organs. So you do not want to, you want to take plain stevia. And even these sugar substitutes, you want to take in moderation. It doesn't mean that you're doing things out of that. Some of the sugar substitutes actually are pro-cancer. And these are aspartame and all, and these are the ones you find True Life and all those things at the Starbucks and other places. It's better to avoid sugar completely instead of taking some of these sugar substitutes.
Yes.
But read before, that applies to anything you eat or drink. And this is very interesting that the same Starbucks, when you go to Europe or any other country, you will not find some of these ingredients that you find here because we are relaxed in the United States. So for example, when it says that the National Lipid Association or American College of Cardiology, they say that there should be 0 trans fats in your diet. And when you look at the labels, they will read as 0 trans fats. But if you actually Google the definition of 0 trans fats, it will say that up to 5% of fats can still be. So if you are meeting up to 5%, it is still called 0 trans. It does not meet 0 trans fats. So that's the whole thing. Everything is in between those small lines, but then you should Google that part. What does it mean? What is yellow 5, right? All those ingredients, this we need to know.
Just one more question. The calcium scoring test, does it require referral from any doctor, or you just directly appointment?
No, because once you have the calcium score, you got to discuss it with the doctor, because once you have the report, then somebody has to interpret it. So best is to typically we get patients who are referred by primary cares who get it done, or they come to us and we'll order it. Because once it comes, then you have to look at the lipids and then discuss the reports and everything.
Yeah.
So even though at Methodist it says that it's a self-referral, you could go walk in there and get it yourself. So they have made that recently. But once your score is done, you got to discuss it with the doctor, because yeah. But best is to, and it's in the entire Methodist system, the price is the same. You say you want the calcium score, it can be done anywhere. So literally at Methodist West, we have opened it on Saturdays and Sundays. It's 3 minutes. 3 minutes it takes. No IV, no nothing. You have to avoid caffeine because your heart rate needs to be a little bit lower, even when doing calcium score. But they do it on Saturdays and Sundays. If you do the heart scan plus, which incorporates the calcium score, carotid, aorta, and the legs, which we recommend for people in 55, 60 age, that's about hour and 15 minutes, no needle, no IV. Total cost is 205. You get tremendous amount of information.
I think one last question or comment. Because after this, we have some people who are waiting for one-on-one consultation. So we would like to end this after Devji, and then those people can consult the doctor.
I mean, that's why I don't want to. What I'm going to talk to you, it's going to surprise you. And I think most of you know, but there are some new people. So I want to share my own story. I had an open heart surgery at the age of 51, and now I'm 87. So it's 36 years ago. And 4 arteries were operated on. 2 were blocked 95% and 2 were 70%. So with that situation over the years, at least 3 times additional stents were added to keep me going. Now, 4 years ago, I got stress test done. And at that time, my doctor was Dr. Mathur. And he said, we can try some stents, but I'm not very hopeful. So at that time, I had decided I'm not going to go through this again. And how nature or God helps you, this happened Thursday. And Saturday, there is a wedding ceremony. And from a close friend, listening to him, he talked about Dr. Rajan Narayan, that he practices tantric yoga. And this is Saturday, and Tuesday, Dr. Rajan Narayan was here in Houston. So I got tested according to the BioVal. And what I'm talking is, it is in our Yoga Sutra, Tantric Yoga, vibrations. And there are books written even by the American doctor about this vibrational medicine. So after doing the test, Rajan Narayan told me that do Ujjayi Pranayam, breathing through the throat for 10 minutes. And then 20 minutes of meditation with vibration in my own mind. And he said, it's going to take some time, but just let me know how you progress. At that time, I was suffering with hiccups. At night, I would get up and go through these hiccups and wait till they are over, then I go back to sleep and this thing. I could hardly walk 5 minutes. Now, what happened after about 8 weeks, practicing this morning and evening, my hiccups are gone. So I was excited. I called him. He said, keep on doing the same practice, and slowly, your walking is going to improve. So that I started doing that every week. There was a further improvement in my walk. And now I could walk 40 minutes without any problem. So this is something, all we did is following his advice and practice regularly. For example, all of you, if you can tell your friends who need this kind of help, that every day, 365 days a year, Dr. Rajan Rand conducts classes 4:30 to 6 o'clock. And everybody in RESMI know that nobody is going to call Dev or Sushma during that time because we don't take any. And unless there is some other appointment or this thing here, this is something we take religiously. Analji has recently attended a camp with Dr. Rajan Rand because he had also interest in this. So this vibrational thing is very real, it's practical, and does not require any medicine or side effects. So yoga and this vibrational works like a magic mantra. No, that while I'm talking, so I better stop.
Thank you so much.
He has already given 3-4 talks. So, but please tell your friends and so on to attend these classes and they will be kept.
So this is great prevention. Follow it. I think it will be great. But like Dr. Sushmaji said, you got a problem right now, don't go to yoga. Go see a doctor. But it's all, today's presentation was so much about holistic cardiac health. I just want to share a personal story, very small, against soda. Okay. I own Subway restaurant, but I'm advertising against soda. Soda, Coke, soft drinks, against. So what happened was, I told you I got CT/NG, all these things done. Nobody could detect why my blood pressure was keeping high despite medication. Never had alcohol, never had smoking, never eaten meat. We can't understand. My cousin himself is a cardiologist in Baylor in Dallas. He says, Sanjay, come here. CT/NG, 2011. I can't figure out. Your arteries are all clean. By chance, my doctor asked, I've asked you this all the time, alcohol, smoking. Do you drink soda? And I said, yeah, occasionally. I will travel to my stores and pick up a small cup. In a day, how much? Maybe 30, 40 ounces. He goes, stop. And that's what made a huge difference. Because soft drinks have so much sodium, you don't realize, and it's dilute. I mean, it's dissolved. It goes into your body right away. Yeah. So that's what completely stopped 2014, and BP is in complete control. I mean, it's amazing. I'm still on a little medication, but she stopped my medications and everything.
The
So-
worst thing that's happening now is that the industry is actually moving from soda to energy drinks, which is actually 10 times worse. And people are switching from soda to Red Bull, Mountain Dew, and all. And personally, in my experience, and I'm sure Dr. Suneja might have seen, I have seen people coming with heart attack after Red Bull. So when we are looking at patients in the emergency room, our mind is always thinking, why? Apart from what we are going to do next. So when we see like a 30-year-old person who's having heart attack and there's no other reason, we look at all the risk factors and everything, and we always look at the lifestyle. Okay, what do you do when you're happy? What do you do in party? What do you do? All that stuff. So we have seen people, because they're all stimulants. They are all stimulants. So soda is a stimulant. It has caffeine, and the energy drink has things more than that.
Practice we ask them routinely because we have patients who come with palpitations and SVTs and arrhythmias, and it is if you track it down, it is energy drinks, caffeine, and so I'd say 3 things which are stimulants is alcohol, caffeine and stress. They all are stimulant stress by increasing noradrenaline, caffeine, and then all these, and alcohol also. We have heavy amounts of alcohol on long weekends. We have episodes of atrial fibrillation and things like that, and patients present with holiday heart syndrome. We have patients with arrhythmias and stuff like that. So those are all the things.
I just want to also say Dr. Rahul Prakash is here too. So those of who you want to do your blood report one-on-one consultation, he's right now sitting in Acharyaji's office next to the kitchen. You can see that, but I'll let this continue. We can go to, if you're done with presentation Q&A here, we can go to consultation. Okay. Dr. Oh.
A slide I want to emphasize is that it's the physicians also need to learn. We the doctors, we also need to learn what we have not learned in our own trainings and colleges and everything. And this is basically from Ayurveda. We always focus on, if a problem, okay, I'm going to fix this. That's our attitude, especially cardiologists is aggressive. I want to right away take care of the artery. I want to fix this and everything I want to do. Today, what we need is a mindset of thinking that look into the system, look into the person or what he's doing to create this. Also very important. Why is in this problem today? So is it the basic structure of his body, his diet, lifestyle, or new things that he has acquired? And that is a very, very important part of prevention, because we as a society keep growing into unhealthy lifestyle. The capitalist design of the society will keep on bringing new and new things. But we as the providers always want to think what is new coming. So we always keep up with any product that comes in the market. We try to read about it, what it can do. But essentially for our population, for our Indian population, we have very high risk. We should be the last one to adopt to these things. So for example, energy drinks, soda or anything. And just because we are already high risk.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Anil. Thank you, Dr. Suneja. And for all of you, or some of you who are present, we will sit in the dining room. Dr. Prakash is in the Acharya's office. But if you want to have just one-on-one discussion with them for your lab results or something, please approach that. And after that, we will have lunch. If you are here to donate blood, that is still going on till about the last appointment is at 2:15. So it's every 15 minutes. There are 2 slots. So if you can, please do so. Thank you very much. This is a great talk.